Hi guys, Jimbo here, the driving test guy, New South Wales, helping you pass your New South Wales P1 driving test first go, hopefully. Okay guys, so we're in the middle of my top 5 fail items, and just to recap, number 5 was the stop sign, rolling through it. You must make sure you stop at the line, bounce before you think of going. Number 4 was the yellow light, blasting through the yellow light when you may have been able to stop at it. You need to consider how fast you're coming in. Is the car behind close, going to hit us up the back, things like that. Now, today, number 3 is, and drum roll, speeding, F5 fail. That's right, folks. Speeding, going over the speed limit, getting caught, doing that with the driving examiner, and you're out. Okay, so your examiner is going to sit in the left chair, and they're going to watch your speedo regularly. Now, if you have an analog dial speedo, well, when you sit in the left chair, you can't make an exact measurement of your speed because of the angle. So, in a 60 zone, it would, for example, have to go 62, 63, 64, and you're oblivious to that before they would issue the F5 fail. Now, if you have a digital speedo, and they can see it, and it's a 60 zone, if it goes 61, and it just sits there at least, and you're oblivious, yes, you are out. Now, if they can't actually see your speedo from the left chair, well then they can't actually issue the F5 fail, because they can't make a measurement. So it can go 62, 63, and they can do nothing about it. Unless you start to drive dangerously fast, and it's just obvious you're over the limit, then that will be a problem. Now, in New South Wales, examiners will take cars out if they can't see the speedo accurately from the left seat. I think it's different in other states, so if you're not sure, contact your local testing centre and ask them. Okay, now one really important point I want to bring up just here before we continue is the examiner will only work off what your car speedo says, not what a GPS speedo would say. So we all know that there is a difference between the two, often 5 or 6 Ks. So you can't say that, hey, you're failing me for doing 62, but the GPS actually said 57, and therefore I'm actually under limit. Even though that might be the case, that won't work with a driving test examiner. They will only work off what your speedo says. Okay, so what I advise we do is generally sit about 5 Ks under the posted speed limit. So if it's a 60 zone, do roughly 55. Gives you a little bit of play. Now, you can actually get a fail item if you're driving too slow. The general rule is, if you're in roads that are not residential, you need to be within 20 Ks of the posted speed limit unless there's some hazard. So if it's 60, you can be driving at 40. Now, me personally, I think that's too slow. So I generally would advise you get within 5 of the speed limit. But if you do drop down a little bit and it's within 20, and it's non-residential, then it will be okay. Okay, so let's go through where I commonly see the F5 fail. Now, the most common place I see it, firstly, is in the lower speed limits. And the most common one of them is the school zone 40. Now, school zones are only activated on official school days, and only between the times stated on the sign. In most cases, that's 8 AM to 9:30 in the morning, and 2:30 to 4 in the afternoon. But there are some schools that have a different school zone time. An example near me is MacArthur Anglican near Cobbitty. And you can see on the screen there, their start time starts at 7:30 AM through to 9:30 because the kids get there earlier. Now let's have a look at this video and have a look at that's entering a school zone that's activated. Okay, so in this example, you can see up ahead the 40 school zone sign with the red ring. Now, you need to be under 40 at basically this point. If you're over 40, you are out. Now, some don't have that big flashing red ring. Some just have just the yellow lights, like this one. So you can see in this example, it's just the yellow flashing lights. There's no big red ring flashing at you. Now, you've got to stay under 40 the whole way until you get to the end school zone sign. And you can see this sign in the video coming up now. So all along here, we have to remain under 40. And you can see it's a fair bit of distance where you could easily get over until this sign, the end school zone sign. And from that point onwards,
you can then be released of the school zone.
Now guys, if you don't want the aggravation of dealing with the school zone, then book your driving test if it's a school day after 9:30 but before 2 o'clock. Okay, so moving on to another example of where I see the F5 fail item is in the 50 zone. Now in this example here, we have a 50 sign, but then we have a roundabout. Now what happens here is, while you're dealing with the roundabout, you forget about the 50, and once you get through, there's no 50 sign to remind you it's 50, but this long straight road, and you just take off and keep going, and you're over 50 in no time, and you're out. Let's have a look at this video.
Okay, so here's our 50 sign to tell us it's now 50, but now I have to deal with the roundabout. Now, I've completely forgotten about the 50. I'm dealing with looking for a safe gap with the roundabout. And once I enter the roundabout, I'm now worrying about my exit signal out of the roundabout. And I've completely forgotten it's 50. And I just take off following everybody, and on this long straight road, I'll get over 50 in no time. And then I'm out.
F5 fail. And we don't want that. Because remember, we're winners. On this channel, we're about passing first go. Not second go, first go. Hopefully. Okay, so the next example where I see the F5 fail for speeding is when you say go from a lower speed limit, like 60, to an 80. Now what happens here is, you're with a traffic stream that's in the 60, but they see the 80. And they pick up early. And if you pick up over 60 before you get to the 80, you're out.
Okay, so I'm currently in a 60 zone, and there is an 80 zone coming up. And you can see the 80 zone sign right there. Now at this point, if I've gone over 60 before that 80, I am out.
Okay, so the same will apply the other way around. If I'm in the 80 zone coming up to the 60, and as I enter the 60, if I'm over 60, I am out. Now these things are really easy to do because all the other drivers are all over the speed limit, and you just follow them, you sort of keep them with the flow. But you need to be really paranoid, because if you're over, it's over. Okay folks, so that's it. Number 3 of my top 5 fail countdown, exceeding the speed limit. Guys, get out there and practice getting to know the speed limits, watching for the signs, and make sure you're under the speed limit. And if you're any new to this channel, please press the subscribe button, the like button, and the notification bell. And always remember, stay safe.